I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. The miracle of Sunset Park. I'll take you to the Mass that celebrates a huge victory for life. The Bishop of Brooklyn takes us into the deep as we celebrate the month of Mary. And the bishop who made history is recognized in a lasting way by his church. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A terrorist is in a federal prison today, sentenced in New York to 41 months in jail for threatening the lives of leaders of the pro-life movement. Theodore Shulman calls himself a pro-choice terrorist. He posted the threat on the website of a religious journal. His targets included Father Frank Pavone, leader of Priests for Life, and Robert George, a law professor at Princeton University. After his arrest by the FBI, Shulman pled guilty. Meantime, one of the biggest stories of the week unfolded in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, a tremendous victory respecting life. I was there Saturday as residents celebrated something more than 20 years in the making. On an overcast Saturday morning in the heart of a close-knit Brooklyn community, the parishioners of St. Michael's gathered to celebrate what they are calling the miracle in Sunset Park. And on this, the feast day of St. Michael the Archangel, their patron, the cause for celebration was twofold. That's because pro-life veteran Monsignor Philip Riley, founder of the group The Helpers of God's Precious Infants, brought with him a special message. After 23 years, the Ambulatory Specialty Surgery Center of Brooklyn, which held the dubious distinction of being the oldest and largest abortion clinic in New York City, will no longer perform the procedure. This after the helpers who gathered outside the doors of the facility, praying the rosary and counseling the expectant mothers who came to the clinic, drove away doctors and patients.
Today is a day of great joy, and we give thanks to God for a tremendous victory for life. And in 71, 72, almost 300,000 abortions took place in New York City. On 39th Street and 3rd Avenue, there was a warehouse that was used for slaughtering of animals. In 1970, Dr. Levy, he bought the building, he took over the building, he rented it, and he changed the slaughterhouse for animals to a place where the unborn was slaughtered. And Dr. Levy wanted this place to be, in his own words, he wanted this place to be the abortion center for the country.
Monsignor Riley said he has gone to the center every week since it first opened to protest the abortions, and while he admits that over the years as many as 25 such facilities had shuttered their doors, this one marked a tremendous victory for life.
This one is special because of its significance. It was from the very beginning, like from 71, okay? Of its magnitude and size. It was a constant harassment, okay, the amount of counter-protesters. So it was a very place that it was sort of the most difficult, okay? But we prayed at all the other places, but we maintained a presence here for 23 years.
Father Kevin Sweeney, pastor of St. Michael's and a devoted participant in the vigils of the Helpers of God's Precious Infants, called this occasion the day the killing came to an end. Father Sweeney reminds us, however, there is an even greater message.
We have to remember it's not only about closing a clinic, it's about all of us trying to be converted to be closer to the Lord and to have a greater respect for life.
Monsignor Riley thanked the pilgrims that stood by him for years, his helpers, and credited them for their unwavering commitment to helping save the souls of the unborn and convert the hearts of their mothers. And on days where it seemed there would be no breakthrough, helpers like Michael changed a life and would be reminded of his remarkable efforts even years later.
I was handing out flyers, and she says, "You gave me one." I said, "You were here yesterday?" She said, "No, 16 years ago. I have a daughter."
Building and clinic owner Terry Lazar tells the New York Daily News he had no choice but to make a decision to eliminate abortions, adding, quote, "It was getting more and more difficult. Doctors were getting harassed and patients were getting harassed." Kathleen O'Connell Murphy, an attorney who has provided pro bono services to helpers of God's precious infants since 1994, says opposition came from all sides, including from some lawmakers.
The City Council, which is very, very pro-abortion, except for a handful of council members, passed all these draconian laws trying to limit people from giving out leaflets, exercising free speech, saying the rosary, exercising their religion, passing ridiculous laws, the clinic access bill. Monsignor Riley and the helpers, myself, many people went down to the city council hearings. It was a waste of time. They were not listening, and they continued to try and stop clinics from operating, pro-life clinics. Anybody who wants to help a woman who's pregnant is the enemy in this city, especially the city council.
Murphy explains how nothing stood in the way of the fight for life.
Monsignor Riley and his helpers were out there in the cold, in the heat, horrible winds coming whipping off the bay, below zero weather.
News of the clinic's transformation and the continued efforts of Monsignor Riley and the helpers touched the entire community and sparked interfaith support. One imam praised the efforts, echoing the sentiment of the day.
I thank God that you guys taking care of this, and in our holy book, the Quran, said clear, if you kill a soul without no reason, you kill the whole entire world. So we don't want that, and I will pray to God will be stopped.
It was right here that Monsignor Riley, Father Kevin, and the helpers of God's precious infants would kneel and pray for hours, pray the rosary for the souls of the unborn children and the hearts of the expectant mothers, a sacrifice they made for decades. They were supposed to bless the facility on Saturday, but that has since been postponed. Father Kevin says he expects the owners of the facility will reach out again soon.
Well, I give credit to the new administrators, and we look forward to working with them. They've reached out to us since they have been here a few weeks ago and have been doing a beautiful job renovating, as they brought Monsignor and I in a couple of weeks ago to see the development of the renovations. And so we support them, and they made the invitation to go and to bless it. Just a few things happened, I think, that caused them to postpone the date, but please God, it will be blessed.
The new clinic, slated to open as the New York Center for Specialty Surgery under the direction of a California-based medical firm, is undergoing renovations. So far, as many as 20 doctors have expressed interest in working at the new facility, a stark difference from as recently as a month ago when Lazar struggled to find doctors willing to work there, the Daily News reports. And as a community celebrates the fruits of hard-won labor and victory for life, a reminder from Monsignor Riley, who helped bring about this miracle in Sunset Park and is now embarking on a global mission to save souls around the world.
Today we give thanks to God and to the angels of God and to Michael the Archangel, for the victory is it belongs to God. It is a victory of life. It's a victory that St. Michael's Parish can remain proud of today and forever.
Ann Curran's Week in Review will continue after the break. The Diocese of Brooklyn, Queens is truly the diocese of immigrants. The heroes who help are honored. Next. Welcome back. The Communist Chinese government is now forcing all Catholic priests and nuns in Shanghai to undergo so-called re-education. The propaganda includes classes on communist doctrine and the government's approach to religion. Recently, the Shanghai bishop was placed under house arrest by the government and the seminary closed. Immigrants facing religious persecution will often flee to the freedom of America and in many cases find a new home in our diocese along with many others, all newly here to build a better future for themselves and in turn a better church for us all. This week, their contributions were recognized.
Tonight we come to honor truly special immigrants, women and men who make the Church of Brooklyn and Queens so great. In a few moments, they will receive one of these stars. a mere symbol of who they truly are.
We're gathering this evening at Gargiulo's in Coney Island for the first of 2 Shining Star Award dinners. The outpouring love for the immigrant community here in Brooklyn and Queens is so great that the necessity of us is having 2 dinners where we get to celebrate 2 nights, which is not a bad thing.
In the Diocese of Brooklyn, every Sunday, about 250,000 people go to Mass. And 1/2 of those who go to Mass go to the language Masses. That represents you. So we owe a great debt to all the immigrants in our midst. And we will continue to serve you through the Migration Office, through the advocacy that is so important to the future of migration, but also to the well-being of those immigrants that are here.
Yeah, I'm really honored. I don't know what to say. I really am overwhelmed right now, representing Korean community. I just learn a lot of things from these other communities. So, I try to be, I try to come to a celebration like this, coming to the Migration Mass.
As we brought them together, we see the people developing relationships among themselves and strengthen the apostolate, especially then, again, it is an apostolate, it is a spiritual recognition. We want to make sure people are practicing their faith.
Really, excited, to be here today. I'm the president of the apostolate. We have our own mass in our own language. So we feel great. We understand our language the way we want to do it. It makes you feel like home away from home.
I came from Egypt. I used to go to St. George. It's a Coptic Catholic church as well. Catholic Migration Services did help us. I was there about 7 years ago when my brother-in-law needed the service. But when I visited them, they explained everything to me and everything was so easy and they really helped me with the papers.
I think we're uniquely well positioned to provide critical legal services to immigrants and refugees in Brooklyn and Queens because we're the church, because there's an inherent trust. We have a network of 200 parishes in Brooklyn and Queens that we can access to spread the word about immigration benefits, to spread the word about our services, and that really I think is something that's unrivaled by other organizations that do good work, but I think we have a real strength in that sense.
God of the stranger, God of the immigrant.
Today was so special because I'm seeing people from different worlds, but they all came under the name of Jesus Christ, and they all came because they serve the Lord and the community. I feel how much I'm blessed being in the Catholic Church.
Week in Review on Currents will continue after the break. This month is one devoted to Mary. Bishop DiMarzio is into the deep about Marian devotions next. In Rome, an international gathering is now studying our Blessed Mother Mary and her importance in our world throughout all time. The main focus of the conference is on Mary's role in leading Christians to greater devotion to our Lord. Greater devotion to Mary is the focus of this week's edition of Into the Deep. Our news director, Ed Wilkinson, spoke with Bishop DiMarzio.
Bishop DiMarzio, thanks for being with us again. Okay. Here we are in October and we celebrate Mary and the Rosary. There was a recent Mariology conference in Rome where one of the scholars got up and he said that Marian devotion has seemed to have collapsed following the Second Vatican Council. Do you, certainly it's not the way it was, say, when I was a kid. There would be novenas to Our Lady of Lourdes and we have packed churches. You don't see that anymore. What happened to Marian devotion?
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that assessment. I do think we do see a lot of Marian devotion today. Perhaps because devotion in itself has been lessened in the church today. We remember we had novenas almost every night of the week in most parishes. Now that's not something that happens. There was benediction and novenas and prayer, but now we've replaced it with the liturgy. There couldn't be a mass at night, so had to be something substituted. So it did change a bit. But I think deep down we see Marian devotion alive, and any of the places of devotion to Mary, Lourdes, Medjugorje today. All these places, have thousands and thousands of visitors. In our own diocese, when we have the Rosary Rally with the children, it's well attended. They know how to say the Rosary. So it's perhaps maybe an assessment that's not correct about the diminishment of Marian devotion. Perhaps it's changed a bit. We see it in relationship to Christ, the proper way. The Vatican Council taught us that, but it doesn't mean that we don't have devotion to Mary.
What is the role of Mary in the church? Sometimes Protestants criticize Catholics for placing too much emphasis on Mary. And there was that title that was floating around there one time, the co-redeemer, with Jesus. Certainly Jesus and Mary are not on the same plane, but how do we make those distinctions?
Well, the church has never approved the idea of co-redemptrix. There are those pushing for that, but that's never been approved by the church. Perhaps might go a little bit too far and cause misunderstanding. Obviously, Mary is the mother of the Redeemer, and because of that, she has a place in redemption. And her cooperation made the birth of Jesus possible. But we can't overemphasize the position of Mary, nor do we underemphasize. We have to give the proper position. This is something from the First Council of Ephesus, where we see that Mary is Theotokos. She is the mother of God. Clearly, not just the mother of Jesus, but the mother of God, because Jesus is God. And to clarify that we give her great devotion because of the position she played in the history of redemption.
Yeah. I guess one of the great things about being in this particular diocese is that we have a lot of immigrants who come here with their devotions, and they certainly show it with processions in the streets, and you attend many of those yourself.
Right. Again, every country has their own national devotion to Mary. You name it, we've seen it here in the diocese, and we encourage that. In effect, as we develop St. Joseph's Church to be the new co-cathedral, we are asking the immigrant groups to give us their national Madonna so that we can place it, and we have many niches there. Very interesting the way the church is constructed, which are empty right now, which we can then devote to the national Madonnas of all the countries represented here, so that they will see this as their home. It's St. Joseph's Church, and it's Joseph's home for Mary.
And one of the things, I believe you instituted the Rosary Rally for the Catholic school students, and that'll be coming up on October 24th here. Why did you do that?
Well, I wanted to be sure that we were teaching our children, and especially the Catholic schools, where we have an opportunity to get them more easily, and that we have one for the public school children also, that we would not forget the place of Mary in our faith, and that we would continue to teach children true devotion to Mary.
And when Monsignor Riley and the helpers of God's Precious Infants, they go and they pray the Rosary all the time in front of these abortion clinics. And recently there was a great victory here on 4th Avenue where they said they will not perform any more abortions down. There's an answer to our prayers.
Right, it's true. The clinic was bought out by a new group, and they're not going to perform abortions. It's a different type of clinic. So we eliminated one place at least that performed quite a few abortions there.
Right.
And when we went, I mean, I've been there many times myself, we were really harassed by groups that they brought in to harass us, so that we would be discouraged from praying there. So that was probably one of the worst places where even peaceful prayer was undermined.
Yeah, well, great victory for the Rosary. 22 years of the Rosary. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Good to be here.
Always interesting hearing from Bishop DiMarcio. And if you have a question for the bishop, email us. Our address is currentsny@desalesmedia.org. Again, that address, currentsny@desalesmedia.org. Your question may be part of a future Into the Deep interview. We continue our week in review after the break. A bishop who blazed a path into our history is being honored by those who know him best. Welcome back. Finally, in our weekend review, we return to Jackson Heights, where Brooklyn's first bishop of Hispanic descent was honored for his wonderful service to our church.
We're here today at the Blessed Sacrament Jackson Heights on the dedication of our new parish hall after Bishop Rene Valero, who was able to be with us today on this occasion, and securing his legacy here as auxiliary bishop and former pastor.
What better way for your legacy for people to come to know of your ministry as priest and pastor of Blessed Sacrament and bishop than by naming the new hall downstairs the Bishop Rene Valero Hall, and that will endure for years.
He's dedicated more than 30 years to our parish, and he's been very special in our hearts here in the community.
He was active in improving race relations. He worked with the senior citizens and had a long career in Catholic Charities also.
Most significantly, he was celebrating his 25th or 30th anniversary as a priest, and he received many little gifts from the parish people. And what he did is he put them all together, and he purchased security screens for the stained glass windows. I thought that was a wonderful, unselfish act.
You know, it's part of the priest's life is to serve his people in a parish, and especially being a pastor. So I miss those days very much. But I'm glad to come back and see them once more.
He's laid the foundation for what we have now, so that's why we say thank you and appreciate it, because he was the one that started things and made sure that everything was kept in order, and now we inherited that, and we're lucky.
I was grateful to be able to see him at Mass. I've heard that he hasn't been able to do as much at Douglaston, but while he was here today, he seemed to be actively participating in the worship.
He was happy when we were clapping to him.
We wish we can get him here more often because as the people are enthused, he himself was enthused. He was overjoyed by the outpouring of memories and conversations.
I prayed to the Lord of the miracle, and he made me the miracle. Now, today, September 30, I see the Bishop Valero healthy and very good, full of life. That's the miracle.
And thank you for joining us for tonight. Be sure to be here on Monday, Columbus Day, for a very special edition of Currents. Until then, visit us online at currentsny.net. Tonight, we leave you with more of the celebration honoring Bishop Valero. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.